computer, to tell you the truth. I don't think it's the internet connection. I'm pretty sure it's my computer, and I don't know what's wrong with it. So, it could be too. Oh, hi everyone. This is Andy discussing his own technical problems here on the After Party After Show, which is like gripping content. And I know this is why you all come here, is to watch me try to figure stuff out online. Dave, how you doing? Grant Palmer, how you doing? And Sammy's here too. What's up, Sammy?
G'day, folks.
I had to change my name.
Oh, Simply Andy too. Right. You did have a pretty kick-ass background there, Dave.
There we go. Yeah. So what a great show this morning. You covered a lot of topics.
Yeah, I can usually tell. Yeah. Thank you. I'm just going to say thank you because that's what I'm working on, right, Dave?
I was just about to catch you on that one.
That's what I'm working on. I'm working on taking compliments. So I'll say, you're welcome.
Take
it and put it in my heart. That's what I'm going to do.
I'm going to share my screen because your subjective look at art reminded me of an abomination.
Okay.
This is in the middle of downtown Vancouver, and if you've ever been here, I apologize. A bunch of us voted against this. It's been tried to be burned down a couple of times. We were going to house homeless people in the cars so that they'd get rid of it. This is not art. This is street garbage.
I don't know what this is. It's just 4 cars.
5 cars.
5 cars. I'm sorry. 5 cars on top of each other. On
top of a really big old dead tree. And it's supposed to be, the juxtaposition of the automobile taking over the forest, but it's ridiculous. It's garbage. Right?
It's garbage.
Car garbage. They're not good cars. And I think that, was intended as a part of the look at, when you talk to the artist, it's like this whole, it's like they were high on acid when they came up with this idea.
Well, here it is. Is it supposed to be ugly?
I believe so.
Yeah. I mean, if it's, I don't know. What does everyone else think? Before I start shooting my mouth off.
You know my opinion.
I know your opinion about putting cats on leashes.
It's truly horrific. What municipality sat in their office and decided that this was a good idea to stick in the middle of their town? This will draw people in for sure.
We have other artists.
They'll come from far and wide.
we have other art installations that are just big hunks of metal that look like, a giant screw or a giant spring or something like that are all around town, or, different things that are like neat metal objects. Yeah. This is garbage.
Now, is this in the middle of town? This is
right next to the expo site.
Wow.
Where Science World is. You can walk to it from Science World. It's kind of where the far parking lot is for Science World down here. So it's right on Main Street.
That's significant.
Literally. Yeah.
Now here's the next question. Is it supposed to be there forever and ever and ever?
It should have been gone a long time ago. It should have been up for 2 weeks. Let everyone go, yeah, that's crap. And then get rid of it.
Right. Well, here's the thing, and that I just, once again, my own subjective feeling about it is that it's one thing to put something up ugly for ugly's sake, and to send a message, right? In case we weren't all aware, the evils of industrialization and the destruction of forests.
Right.
But to put it up there forever and ever and ever, that's a tough one for city planners, right? I mean, it's bold.
Now,
I'll say that. It's bold.
The other thing I would say is the reason it is there this long is they've made a whole bunch more places for art installations. So I think those have kind of sucked up the other good artists' work. So if they take this down, this artist hasn't done anything better than this, and they don't have anything better to put there.
Okay, so I'm going to say this, Dave. right? And tell me if I'm wrong, Chad. James Levine, he was Levine. He was a director over at the BSL, Boston Symphony Orchestra, for years, and I heard him say that you can't really form an opinion of art unless you see it 3 different times. Now then, if I see this 3 different times, but I still think it's crap.
I'm going to say I've driven by it more than 100 times. I used to work in Yaletown, which is where all those cars are passing underneath it is the road I went by it on. And I came home on the other side of the road. I've seen it from both directions. I've seen it in pictures. I've seen it from other streets. And the more you see it, the less interesting it is.
Oh, that's true for anything, to tell you the truth, right? That's true for anything except for like sunlight.
I've always thought that see it 3 times, or try something 3 times or whatever. That's just appealing to our sentimentality, or the fact that we're habitual creatures.
Right.
And that we get used to things.
Yeah.
A wise person told me when I was young, try everything once. Whatever you don't like, you don't have to do again.
Oh, well, I definitely think that there are some categories like that. Like, I don't think I ever have to try certain types of food again, for an example.
Yes.
Or a certain kind, or even some certain sexual positions. I don't have to try that a second time. I did it once. Thank you very much. I feel like I should be given some kind of ribbon, some kind of award for it. That's done. I did it. I'm never going to try to do that again.
Like heroin.
I have questions.
I know you do.
And I'm not asking any follow-ups.
Don't ask any follow-ups. Complete that down.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, but there are some things I can try. I definitely agree. There's some things I can just try once, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm okay with that. And there are some things I'm not going to try at all.
Yeah.
There's things that I could like. Will I get hurt? Can I get hurt? What are the chances of me getting hurt? If those are answered in the wrong ways, then yeah, I'm not trying it.
Early in life, I lacked that thought process. I was like,
testosterone.
If I get hurt, then I won't do it again.
Well, that's testosterone working its wonders. That's what.
You're probably right. I was pretty hyperactive and pretty.
Also, if it's going to hurt someone else, don't necessarily try it once.
I like that. Thank you, Grant. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But I think when we're young, we have even less ability to think of other people's than we do of our own consequences.
Well, that's narcissism right there, right? That is like teenage, young adult narcissism.
And let me throw it out there, because you mentioned it earlier in your podcast or stream, or what are we calling this anyway?
I don't know what this does. I don't know what we do here.
The event of the day?
The event. We'll call it the event, sure. Sounds very epic like that.
During the incident on the internet.
Yeah.
You mentioned about our religious people, or I don't know, maybe it was just in the chat, but
it was in the chat, and I spun that out.
Not our religious people, not as smart as other people. And for years, I have been explaining to people inside and outside of the church how indoctrination and how belief systems and faith systems specifically teach us to be victims.
Yeah.
They teach us to take someone's word for it and not check. I've said to people many, many times, you give them the scenario. Somebody says, I'm going to sell you this car for $50,000. It's a $1,000 car. Why would I pay you $50,000? Well, there's $60,000 in the trunk, but I don't have a key for it. I can't open it. I can't show you, but I know it's in there. Just give me $50,000. You'll instantly make 10 grand. You can still sell the car for $1,000.
Oh yeah.
Well, why wouldn't that person just crowbar the trunk and take the money? Right? Like, you don't buy that car ever. No one has ever bought that car, but you do that with religion, and you do that with homeopathy. Because
if you doubt that money, Dave, that money is going to burn your soul for eternity.
What if you're wrong? What if you're wrong?
Exactly.
That's just throwing gas on the fire at this point.
Jesse Bear points out that I have tried foods again as an adult and like more foods. I would agree with that too, Jesse.
Yeah, me too.
I'm much more, and I think it's because your taste buds die over time, so I can handle spicy foods much more
Do they
than
really?
yeah, taste buds die over time, Dave. I don't want to be the one to tell you this, but
Damn
I remember this from my sensation and perception class back in 19. Well, it was a long time ago. It was
So
a
what
long
you're
time.
saying is I have poor taste?
Well, that might be more of a cognitive issue, Dave. Maybe more of a cognitive issue than a taste bud thing.
Also, I ran across a thing yesterday. I don't know. I don't know if I can share this with you, but let me see if I can look it up real quick.
Sure.
This is really interesting. And where's my screen share button? There we are. Sorry. I ran across this yesterday, and I was like, "Wow, these people are really, really smart." And how do animals adapt to living with humans? But there are crows in Australia that live near the watering holes,
Mhm.
and they have made a living out of eating ticks off of like kangaroos and other creatures that come up to drink, because ticks are so prevalent. And some of these creatures come up and they're like completely covered in ticks, and these crows fly down and they nip them all off of these animals. So it's like just like the fish
Yeah.
who have cleaner stations, these crows have learned. Crows are smart creatures,
Mm.
and they've created cleaner stations in Australia to take care of these. It's actually pretty cool if you're not grossed out by birds eating bugs or by critters covered in, like, they're quite covered in ticks. There's
Oh, hey, yeah. That's disturbing. So,
a little
so
bit.
you're saying that crows are the answer?
Yeah, they seem to be helping, and they seem to have learned this behavior. And when they take crows from another area and bring them over here and show them this, they learn it, and then they take them back.
Mm.
So they're actually helping the wild, and these are wild animals. These aren't farmed animals, right?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But apparently there's like wallabies or something
Mm.
out there, and if you capture a wallaby, it's so traumatic to the animal that you can actually kill it. It will act. It's
No.
like if you capture a small bird, it can have a heart attack.
Oh,
That
right.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's not good for the animals. So they have to find a way for nature to deal with this. And of course, the prevalence of ticks is because of the farmland being, destroyed and other things in the area. I mean, there are ticks naturally, but the prevalence of them on the animals is obviously being inflated by man's interference. So the animal world has started to adapt already to our drastic interference
So what you're saying is that we just have to drop crows into Australia in the mouse infestation areas, and crows will figure out a way of taking care of those mice.
We need to teach the crows how to kill mice. Yes.
Yeah. Maybe they'll just figure it out themselves. All that food just scurrying around.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to.
Or maybe
show
they'll
them
just clean all the ticks off the mice so that they live better.
Yeah.
Oh, unintended consequences. Well
Yeah,
said.
you know how on Futurama the world is overrun with owls, right? Because they got all the owls to get rid of all the rats, and now there's owls everywhere.
Now, and they become, yes, the crows in my yard laugh at me. I'm sorry, Dr. Mordecai.
So just like Australia with foxes and cane toads and what else did we introduce?
The cane toads, yeah, that's a bad situation.
Oh, the king toads, indeed. That's right. Cleaning symbiosis on Wikipedia.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you've ever seen cleaning station, like that was the what was it, Shark's Tale? That was the kind of premise of the movie, was they were all working in a car wash that was a fish cleaning station.
Shark's Tale?
Wasn't it?
Terrible movie. Yeah, that's
say it was a good movie. That was the one with what's his name? From Men in Black.
Will Smith.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't there. See, now Ox mentions the attack of the killer crows with wing-mounted lasers and tiny firebombs on their feet. Seriously, though, I believe that there was a scheme somewhere in maybe World War I and World War II that one of the sides, and I don't even remember which one, were thinking about pigeons with incendiary strapped to them. And that's somewhere in the back of my head, and I don't remember it.
Do you remember the dolphin experiments?
I dimly remember the dolphin experiments. I know that the U.S. was going to use, or maybe it was the Germans, using pigeons as guidance systems for missiles too.
Oh,
Yes.
There's birds for guidance systems, but there were bats with incendiary devices as a thing where they'd supposedly nest in the buildings and stuff.
Okay, so that's what I might have been thinking about. Bats with incendiary devices. A bat bomb. It was a World War II developed. It was a World War II weapon developed by the United States. The bomb consisted of a bomb-shaped casing with over 1,000 compartments, each containing a hibernating Mexican free-tailed bat with a small timed incendiary bomb attached. Bat bombs by the U.S.
Yep.
Real thing.
what a waste of good bat.
Didn't the Germans train dogs to go and put explosives underneath tanks? But because they trained these dogs with their own tanks, in the heat of the battle, the dogs freaked out and ran to their own tanks.
That's a true story. And what happened was they took German Shepherds and they put like devices on them, and they taught the German Shepherds to run and crouch underneath the tanks so that the tanks would roll over them and they would eliminate the tank and the dog and everyone else around it. But the dogs became too familiar with the type of tanks that the Germans were using. And in the battle, if the dogs got turned around, they would run backwards and they would blow up German tanks. So they stopped doing it, thank goodness.
Yeah, it's called the fish tail, not the shark's tail. That's what Jesse Bear says. But
Shark's Tale. That was the movie.
Yeah, Shark's Tale is the movie. I'm not sure what Fishtail is.
I don't know what fish. Okay, so maybe it's just a fish story. I mean, I don't know.
It's a fish tale.
Fish tail. That's right.
Tales of the fish. Like Tales of the Bible.
Right. So, Dave, you're sharing something with us here. What should I share it with everyone?
No.
No.
Sharing. Oh, stop sharing. Yeah, sorry, I didn't click that.
Was it something incriminating? I should have just shared it right there then.
No, it was just my notes about your show, the thing that I wanted to bring up with you about.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for yeah, I'm so sad for the dogs. Yeah, the dogs.
Yeah,
right?
exactly, right.
Here it is. Tesla Ranger says, during testing, some of the bats with incendiary devices attached escaped, resulting in a large part of the base they were being tested at burning down. Yeah, that sounds...
Isn't Carlsbad in California?
It might be. I don't know.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, is this where that age-old adage of don't work with children and animals comes from?
I'll tell you this. I worked with a border collie, a well-trained Dave, actually, my friend I was telling you about yesterday, who was a dog trainer. She was in a 48-hour film festival film I made with a bunch of other people. She was the actress, and we used her dog in it. And that dog was great, I have to tell you. Everyone, that dog was fantastic to work with, but it was an exceptionally good, well-trained dog with her trainer actually being on the set too at the same time. So
see now, and if the Germans had used children instead of dogs, they would have had a better success rate.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah. I thought of a joke. I thought of a comment, and I didn't say it. I just want to say that right now because I realized it was inappropriate for this channel and at this time on this
channel.
Yeah, there are things that are inappropriate. Let me tell you, there's a drop-down menu in my head. No, just let it go, Andy. If it goes down to like number 3, I just let it go.
So you're telling us we get the level 1 and 2 of Andy?
You get the stuff that I can talk about without getting, without being kicked out.
So is there like
I was
an
making this joke.
OnlyFans we can join for the good stuff?
That would be interesting. I was at Fenway Park with my girlfriend like a week or two, about last week. And I came up to the realization that there are some, I think I've talked about this, that there are jail jokes that if you say out loudly enough, the end product will be you going to jail because you're insulting someone and they're going to start shit with you. Appropriately so. And so I keep the jail jokes down to the minimum. Oh yeah. So the girlfriend does have to hear the level 4 and 5 jokes, stuff that's really inappropriate, really inappropriate. So Carlsbad is in New Mexico, actually, the Air Force Base. That was actually Ox. That's a good point. Is that everything was built in Japan? In Japan was made of wood, and I remember reading in Ripley's Believe It or Not about the bat bombs. That's what I remember here. My dad had a Ripley's Believe It or Not book from like 1950 something maybe, and I remember looking at that. Yeah. What's up, James Henry? Hope you're doing well. Dogs were also used to detonate minefields. I know sheep were too in World War I, right? Sheep were just sent over to explode mines.
Yeah, we really haven't been great to animals for a long time, and the smarter the animal, the worse we've treated them.
Oh, this is true. This is true. Yeah. So you're working today, Dave?
Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it.
No, I'm still. What did they do today? Nothing exciting.
I will.
I should say when I'm not getting paid to working, that I'm still doing lots of stuff around the house. Obviously, I have since set up my green screen.
Yes.
And, I did a lot of sorting out and putting away yesterday. Got some stuff cleared up, and it's starting to feel more like home and less like a large room that I store all my things in.
Home. I'm acquainted with that term. See, now this is the thing is that now I'm chopping again, so now I have to go and just think. You guys can keep talking while I wrestle. I figured out that whenever I go into the private chat, that's when everything starts getting choppy for me.
Oh, well, don't go into the private chat.
I will not go.
What you should do is set up a second machine next to you so that you can, do all your texting and private chat stuff and all that. You can bring yourself into the back room and then not put yourself out here with all of us bozos.
Well, that makes sense, Dave, to tell you the truth. Now I just need to get a second screen. Well, I think I have a second screen I could use. I don't know if it works on the iPad, but no one wants to hear about my tech problems, right? I don't even want to hear about my tech problems.
Well, a lot of people have tech problems. A lot of people have tech support issues. So seeing Andy as, a real person with real life, real tech support issues, not a bad thing.
There is a pill for that, Andy.
I need a bottle. Yeah. Maybe 2 bottles, Sammy. You can send them over, if they're not illegal. And if they are illegal, then just, you're a smart guy. You can figure out a way.
Yeah, I'll get them to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And if you come to Canada, they're free. They're included in our healthcare.
Oh, music to my ears. Music to my ears.
Yeah, did you liked my comment about if you guys take Jordan Peterson, we'll take Flint, Michigan, and fix it, and we'll have some affordable housing.
I didn't want us to go. I just didn't want to do Jordan Peterson today. Although I did mention that I saw the 2-hour video conversation that Stephen Fry had with him, and I think Stephen Fry is on a different level than Jordan Peterson. So I'm curious about how Stephen Fry dealt with him. I'm sure it was with grace and wit. But I just have to, take out 2 hours of my day or segments of my day to sit down and watch that.
I was in the wrong frame of mind to watch it, and I got about 18 minutes into it and went, nope, not today.
Now, was that because? Now, why you got 18 minutes in? What made you say not today?
Oh, just everything about Jordan Peterson. I mean, you can, if you're if your mind is spinning in the way that I believe yours and others of us here do, when somebody says something atrocious or incorrect,
Yeah.
you're yelling at the screen like, no, that's wrong, that's not science, that's anecdotal evidence, that's that's a fallacy, that's garbage, that's ignorance, that's
So wasn't Stephen refuting him though? Or was he just sort of going along with him?
I didn't see him get to the refuting part. Maybe that was later on.
You'd think 18 minutes in, you definitely would have something to refute from Jordan Peterson.
Well, it is interesting about because Peterson does this Gish Gallop thing, which is just a stream of consciousness. And him, he'd be a great rapper. I wish he would just start up his rap career, to tell you the truth, because he'd be really good at it, freestyle rapping. But in terms of public, quote unquote, intellectual, and I use that term very loosely, he's just a mess. That's what he is.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it Gish Gallop, because I don't think he does it intentionally. I think he is just a stream of consciousness thinker, and his consciousness is just where it is.
Well, what he does is that he's sucking his own dick. He just thinks that whatever comes out of his mouth is gold, and so he doesn't actually think about it as it's coming out, and it just more just comes out, and more just comes out, and more just comes out, and a little bit of epistemic humility, a little bit of fucking epistemic humility would go a long way with that fellow.
Yeah. And I know you're not a huge fan of Sam Harris, but if you watch the Sam Harris and I think it was Deepak Chopra, he said, you're sitting here and you're telling us more about the cosmos and about metaphysics than everyone else. You're telling us we're all wrong. But if you talk to people who know about these topics, they will preface everything they say with, I'm not the smartest person in the room, and there's probably someone out there who knows more about this than me, but
yes,
and you haven't done that once.
Yes.
That's kind of what Jordan Peterson does. He respects himself as the authority above all else, which is a really bad rabbit hole to get. It's like spiraling down the drain, right?
Yeah.
You go to a bad place.
Yeah, indeed.
In my opinion, and I'm not the smartest person.
And I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Come on. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just do some drinking before I do atheist drinking out loud on Saturday, and I'll just watch through a part of the Fry Peterson interview, and that'll get me going.
You might be hammered by the time DOL comes out.
I'll have to drink every single time Peterson said something insipid, and that would be a lot of drinking.
Ox's comment here: Dave built a cat tree in the background, but it looks like he glued a cat to it. No, that's actually my cat Velcro. Yeah, he likes to hang. He's just hanging out, watching the show.
Wow,
big fan of Andy.
Hasn't
had biscuit yet, but
Right. Actually,
speaking of big fans of Andy, don't forget to hit like, share, and tell all your friends about this. Tweet about it.
Yes, since the algorithm hates me and hates the show or whatever I do, whether it's about Satanists or progressive politics or atheism, not really a big fan of what I do. So the best word of mouth, the best advertising is word of mouth and telling people about the show. Definitely. Yeah.
So, Andy, you're going to work today. Are you putting in a full 8 hours today?
Not a full 8 hours. I'm doing 6 hours today.
6 is good.
7 hours. It's physical labor, and I will say this. This is obviously not the most I've ever gotten paid. I've never gotten paid a whole lot for the work that I do, but I will say this is the most satisfying because the people who I work with actually say, "Thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing the work that you're doing." And I have to tell you that's very moving. So I would say that psychologically speaking, it's been the most satisfying job I've ever had in my 52, soon to be 53 years. So making physical changes, making real changes in people's lives. That's what, and I think to myself, if I ever made enough money off this, hit the lottery, or if my Ethereum Yeah, I talked about cryptocurrency there for a second. Suddenly went through the roof. That I may actually still do the job, and just do it for the sheer pleasure of it. Thank you, Ox. Always appreciated.
Or like me, you would just start your own business in it.
Well, if I ever had, and I've made this quite public on a number of different occasions, if I ever made a lot of money, then I would start. I would, it would be Operation Mayhem. It would just be, that would be what I would be doing.
Operation Mayhem.
Operation Mayhem.
This sounds better than Operation Burn It to the Ground. Hang on.
Well, it's kind of like in the same kind of category.
Tell me a little about this Operation Mayhem.
And the thing is, if it never got off the ground, I could just see the court, the prosecutor going, you actually talked about it online. This prankster counterinsurgency, this insurgency campaign, you've actually talked about it on several different occasions, intoxicated and sober. And so,
and plausible deniability. You can always say, "Oh, that wasn't me. That was my online persona."
Right. I'm Alex Jones, right? I'm Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Joe Rogan. Oh, damn it! I talked to Joe Rogan. Drink, everyone. Put it on your bingo card. No one should take seriously what I say. I'm just an entertainer.
Yeah. No. Yeah. What was the lawyer's comment? Nobody would take Tucker Carlson seriously.
No one would take him seriously. I wrote a poem about it. On the blog, Laughing in Disbelief, about Trump's lawyers saying no one should take him seriously because he's so much of an idiot. Who would take him seriously?
Well, a bigger idiot.
A bigger idiot. There's always a bigger idiot. There's always a bigger idiot.
Yeah.
I mean that in the nicest possible way. If you happen to be a Trump supporter watching this,
But how can you to legitimately say that about someone that was at one point the most important person in the world? But why would you listen to him? He's an idiot.
Well, I don't know if you can.
He's running your country, but don't listen to him.
I don't know if you can call him the most important person in the world. He may have been the most influential. He definitely wasn't the smartest. Mm. He wasn't the wisest, and he wasn't the cagiest. He wasn't, he made.
Yes, important was a very poor choice of word.
He made some really easy to make wrecking ball moves.
Yeah.
Other people with a modicum of conscious thought would never have thought possible and never have thought attainable, just based on the fact that, if you walk up to somebody and kick their legs out from under them and then say, "I'm the only one here, let me help you up." That's not a great way to make a friend. He made a lot of friends doing that.
Mm.
Indeed. Wise words from Obi-Wan Kenobi right there.
By grabbing them but on their genitals. I wonder how many friends he made that way.
That whole Rafael Cruz thing is just atrocious too. But
you tell me another president that's ever existed that would have got away with saying that before becoming president.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
And I will say, the American system itself, when you allow the system to build itself, when you allow the system to assemble the components of itself in the way that the United States has for the last 30 years, the system, and it's another reason why I don't think Trump is going to get arrested. I don't think he's going to be charged with any serious crime. He may be charged with some sort of tax evasion thing and have to pay a penalty. But no one in politics wants to make the president accountable for his actions. No one on either side. Because then who do you get to run for president when all of a sudden they're accountable for every penny they take in and spend and every single thing they say? Well,
that's the thing, Dave, and that's an interesting point. When you do convene a grand jury, you don't know where it's going to end. So, it is. Once again, you have the twin problems, right? You have someone who obviously acted in a criminal way while they were president, and that's a danger of not prosecuting them. But then you get into this problem with these, so-called democracies, so-called republics, where political enemies are being attacked as soon as they get out of office. And that in itself, we've talked about this. I've talked about this many times about the Caesar problem, right? One of the reasons why Julius Caesar went on to become dictator of Rome is because he knew that as soon as he stopped being governor, he would be brought up on charges. And so he just went for it all. He just went for it all. Me, I would still prosecute Trump myself. I think that the danger of not prosecuting him is greater than prosecuting him.
Would you prosecute him if you were a politician, if you were a high-level politician, and you knew that all of the oil companies, all of the environmental changes that he made, all of the tax giveaways, the trillions of dollars that he gave to corporations, all of those people are going to want you dead?
Oh yeah. Well, if I was Bernie Sanders in my stronghold in Vermont, and if I'm 80 something years old and have done my time and done my job, and willing to let it go, willing just to say this is worth it, and then I'd say sure I would. Politically speaking, it makes sense for him, and also for the fact that he's later on in life, he's lived his life. And I think he would still do that too, even if he was in his 30s or his 40s.
So you're talking about, this is a really interesting subject. You're talking about almost at this point, the sacrifice for legacy.
Yeah. Well, just for doing what's right too, Yeah. I think just for doing what's right. And some people, regardless of what position, well, the thing is too, if you're a politician at a high level, let's face it, there's a greater chance of you being a sociopath. Right?
Yeah.
There's a higher percentage of sociopaths, the higher in power you get. So a lot of those people doing the right thing is like talking gibberish. They just don't respond to that kind of those kind of ideas. Yeah, drink by the right ideas.
I'm trying to absorb what you're saying, but what you're saying about Bernie Sanders and how he's willing to make a great sacrifice
I'd say so, yeah.
For at his age, knowing, being in the twilight of his career and all of that, willing to make that sacrifice to make such a change that his legacy will live on. Yeah. Isn't that exactly what Trump did? He sacrificed his integrity.
The thing is about true believers, right? People like AOC, for an example, and I would put her in the same category as true believer as Sanders. Ooh. They're definitely more in the doing the thing regardless of all the other secondary stuff. It's more of the principle of it, I think, that they're fighting for. With Sanders, though, it's easier to come to that decision because he is later in life and it is easier. However, I think that when he thinks to himself, if I'm going to put myself in Sanders' shoes, I think he has always been this guy. He's always been the guy that has said that I'm going to do this for the principle when it comes down to tough decisions.
And what you're saying is he's always been teetering on that principle versus risk, but because of where he is in age and in his career, the risk is coming down.
Yeah, well, that's just like for anyone who's like in there, who's older. They're like, well, I put my time and I've done what I've done, so it's easier.
Well, what president hasn't been older, right? Like,
yeah, well, yeah. The thing, I think with once again, I think if you're a president, it's far more difficult to be to be in that category of doing the right thing for the right thing because it's the right thing. When you're a senator, where you're just so there's multifactorials. I'm sure we could get like a spreadsheet, and once again, maybe someone has done a mathematical model about how easy it is to make tough decisions depending on where you are, because that's also something that could be studied.
Well,
right?
When you say where you are, there's a spectrum of a tangled web of how much information do you have, and how much life experience do you have. Are you one of those people who's thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead into the the relative consequences of action, good or bad?
Right. Well, the hypothetical is that if a set of people have the same information, what factors are relevant in what decision they make? And that's, I think,
Yeah,
that's
I think you're right. I think
question.
people weigh the information differently depending on their perspective, for sure.
Yeah.
So do you believe that there's a book of the presidents with all the presidential secrets?
Oh, is there a presidential secret book? I don't know. I don't know if there is or not.
Do you think there's any chance in hell that Trump saw it and didn't say something about it?
You know, I would say this. I know that as a person, that there is stuff I'm going to the grave with. That I'm not telling anybody.
Stuff you're going to?
That's stuff I'm not telling anybody that I'm going to the grave with. So
going to the grave with. Sorry, I didn't hear what you said there.
Right. So there, if you're a president and you've been serving for 8 years, there might be stuff that you've done that nobody really has a record of that you're not going to talk about.
So you think the book of the presidents might actually be a two-way street? That, like, when Trump took office, they said, okay, you can see the book of the presidents, but you have to tell us, did the hookers pee on you in the Russian hotel room? Because we need some weight to go. Like, if this book of the presidents come out, bad stuff about you is in there too.
It's an interesting. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I was a KKK member for 6 weeks. Right? You think Trump's going to write that in the book?
He's not writing stuff.
Okay, yes, you're a little far out for me.
Yeah. There's no way that people are going to incriminate themselves to that kind of extent. No, and James Henry says, just with Peterson, once again, he attempts to appear reasonable. Exactly, while he is anything but reasonable.
Yeah.
They're not going to write that shit in a book.
Yeah,
there'd be plenty of classified stuff that they'd be briefed on, but I don't know that it would all be compiled into a book. Yeah. I imagine there would be people that exist that have seen some shit and know some stuff. That, I'd love for a lot of these people to just spill everything on their deathbeds.
Well,
and it happens
one of the things
every now and then
about the military, specifically the U.S. military. Anyone involved in an incident is compartmentalized, and they have teams. And if you work on an incident where the U.S. military has made a colossal mistake, you will never work on another one again, because having multiple mistakes in one person's head.
Yeah,
the deathbed confession. Okay, one incident came out. Well, we can still debunk that and disclaim that. But if somebody has 5 or 10, all of a sudden it gets interesting. So, governments do that.
Russian interesting. where you get some plutonium-235 or whatever on your door, in your diet suddenly.
Yeah.
Hey, we got I got to close the show up in 2 minutes. Just letting everyone know.
Well, Andy, tell us what's going on your show for the rest of the week. You have the Disappointed Cat Morning Show tomorrow.
Which is Friday. Saturday, I'm doing Drinking Out Loud, 5 p.m.
And are we thinking there's going to be a return of Jenga in the near future?
If I had the time. But right, I have to tell you something, everyone, and I'll be honest with this. As I am thinking about what my life looks like, especially when my kid goes back to school in the fall. I have to figure out exactly how I'm going to structure my time. I've already had arguments with my employer about me not working too early so I can still do this show. So these are the kind of discussions I'm having with the people around me. And I'm going to have to talk to my kid about how much I'm going to be involved, because she is 16. She's going to be working. She's going to be doing all this other stuff, maybe, possibly. So right now I am really when we talk about the fog of war, right? When we talk about being in a spot where you don't know a lot of stuff, I am just trying to muddle my way through this, brother. That's and everyone in the chat too. I am just trying to muddle my way through this and trying to think of a system that works, because what I'm doing now, it's great. And I've only been working for a month because of my getting the shot, getting the vaccine. But how it looks down the road, I don't know. I don't know. I have to think of something. I have to, it would
Well-
be easy. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just rambling.
No, that's all right. But for whatever it's worth, I cannot imagine my day without the Disappointed Cat morning show. So whatever it takes, you must keep it going, Andy. And I know that may sound quite pathetic.
Well,
But it's a huge part of my life, Andy.
Sure. And well, thanks for saying that. See, I'm learning.
So what
Thanks for
you
saying
need
that.
is a sugar Patreon.
Well, ideally, if someone wanted to be a super contributor and just throw in X amount of money, then but there are ways for me of doing this. I just have to try to figure them out. Of course, having the super secret sacred patron or YouTube member, sure, that would help. That would make things a lot easier. But that is highly unlikely to happen. I had this.
Patreon. I love it.
I was talking to my girlfriend about this just the other day about being realistic about what's going on. It's like, look, in all reality, sure, I've got a couple of things cooking right on the blog. There's big news coming in like another, at least for the blogging community, in the next month or two, right? Which I can't talk about. I've dropped hints. I don't know how that's going to affect the channel. I don't know how that's going to affect the blog. Laughing in disbelief. So some things I just have to wait for to see what happens, and then I don't know. I can only say I don't know so many times in a sentence. Yeah.
So we shall deal with all the Andy we can get, and you are taking a break in a week or so for.
I'm only taking 2 days off. Yeah, I'm only taking 2 days off, and that's not this Monday and Tuesday, but it's the next Monday and Tuesday after that.
Yep.
Yeah. And because one day on Tuesday I'm going to be flying back home, and then on Monday, I think I'm going to be doing stuff with a girlfriend, and I'm in a new city too. I'm going to be and I don't know what the internet connection is going to be like, and I'm not taking all my gear on the plane, to tell you the truth.
No.
Yeah.
I just wished I'd have prefaced all that with not to sound desperate, but it's too late.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, I know everyone, right? I do not run a channel targeting rich people, right? There are channels out there who specifically target affluent people. I am not interested in doing that kind of work.
You are saying people on the internet pander to the wealthy?
Yes, they do.
I
would say that the algorithm panders to the wealthy too. That's what I would say.
On a closing note, if you haven't seen it yet, there is a person on YouTube and Twitch called Finster, and it's F1NNST3R or something like that. And Finn takes these challenges. Finn is an e-girl. So Finn is a guy who dresses up or cross-dresses, but only if people donate money to him. So people have donated enough money, like I think they're up to like $50,000 now, where Finn is actually going to have to live the next 4 months dressed as a woman. He's got acrylic nails now, eyelash extensions, hair extensions, the whole deal. But $50,000, yes, like a kabillion followers. That is pandering at its finest.
I don't know if okay, really, I have to eat before I go to work. Everyone, thanks for showing up. I'll see you tomorrow. This has been a crazy show. But it's always
We're
crazy.
filibustering the end of this.
What's that?
We're filibustering the end of this. You can't stop.
Oh, damn it!
All right. With that note, I'm hitting the end broadcast button.